She was a cheerful California teenager ready to take on the world.
She was a person that was full of life. She had a lot of plans, like she was a go-getter.
But on a warm Saturday morning, she made a decision that proved to be her last. So what do you think happened that night?
She had called me and told me, I'm okay, I'm fine. I think she was scared to come home because she knew she was going to be in trouble.
That's for a young woman who would never get to celebrate her 18th birthday.
Some cases take this long, some go unsolved. It was unique in the sense that we had no suspect information for a long time, especially a case like this 17-year-old girl, minor, that was murdered in the way that she was. You would think people would be coming out of the woodwork trying to give information, and that just didn't happen in this particular case, so it was unusual.
Hi, I'm Nancy O'Dell. Today's Crime Exposé takes us to Hacienda Heights, California. In this sunny bedroom community in southeastern Los Angeles County, motorists spotted the lifeless body of a young woman in a traffic intersection. Tracking down her murderers would take years until a very surprising source produced the evidence that would close the case for good. Her name was Gloria Gaxiola. She was the beautiful girl who now lay dead in a Southern California street.
That's what is so tragic, my sister's death, that it wasn't natural. She was healthy. She had all her future ahead of her.
She was almost 18 years old, and like many teenagers, she had an ever-changing checklist of things she wanted to do.
She wanted me to take her to Vegas. She wanted to go to school. First she wanted to be a cosmetologist. Then she wanted to do cooking.
And also, she wanted to fit in.
She was kind of like a chameleon. She would go along with whatever was going on. And I was more like, no, don't go along with that, or don't do this. But she was always trying to be good to people.
But this time, she left the house and had been gone for 3 days.
She had called me and told me, I'm okay, I'm fine. I think she was scared to come home because she knew she was going to be in trouble.
Gloria was in trouble, but it turned out to be worse than she ever imagined. Her disappearance was now the responsibility of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. Her case was assigned to Tony Escamilla, an investigator in the Homicide Bureau. First stop, the home of Angelina Gaxiola, sister of the victim.
My first contact with Angie was obviously to give her the death notification and explain to her and her family the information that we had at the time. And there was holdback information because as an investigator, in investigations, you don't provide all the details. So I gave her as much as I could.
At the time, neither the investigator or the family knew that it would take 5 long years to figure out what actually happened to Gloria.
It turned into years. I would try to call her anytime I had a new lead, or she would call me and provide me with information of possible leads and individuals to talk to. And that continued for 5 years.
I really respected what she would tell me.
The relationship was unique. It was different. Angie put a lot of trust in me with this investigation.
Investigative legwork can require interview after interview across great distances.
Like I went over throughout LA County, I spoke to at least 100 people.
So when you conduct an interview, do you have a standard set of questions?
If we're talking to the family, then we want to get background information on the victim. We need to know every little detail, good, bad, or indifferent. That helps with the investigation. We need to know who their friends are, where they work, where they go to school.
One question went unanswered. Why? Why did the 3 men drive a terrified teenager into a nearby canyon and shoot her in the head?
It may have been planned at the house, but there was no proof of that. There were no words to that effect, that what they were going to do.
From what I heard, they just wanted to make her an example.
Through our informant, based on what one of the suspects told him, they were going to go for a ride, and the suspect was upset at the fact that Gloria took off with his car at the motel. Now, the informant didn't take it that they were going to kill her, but he didn't know. And then it wasn't until after news, after her body was found and news reports, then he realized that's what they were going to go to.
They didn't tell me because they were scared. They didn't want to get Gloria in trouble.
The untimely and tragic death of 17-year-old Gloria Gaxiola left her family devastated. She was a teenager full of life who just wanted to fit in. It took 5 years of questioning and interrogating those closest to her, but investigators finally cracked the case and found out that her need to be accepted was also what led to Gloria's murder. It was a Friday night, heading into Saturday morning. Gloria was behind the wheel of a 4-door sedan. She was helping 3 new acquaintances make a business deal.
The 3 males, she drove them to the motel where they were going to get their drugs.
She's like, oh, I know where to get this, because she knew someone.
For Gloria, this wasn't about scoring drugs. It was about scoring points with a different crowd.
Well, I think it was the friends that she met at school, and I believe that they had connections with the older crowd, which then Gloria met and started hanging out with them.
And my sister just didn't have that discernment. She just wanted to be cool with everybody. I think that's how she met these people.
I think a lot of it has to do with being naive and then being with an older group of people. I think there was probably some manipulation. They took advantage of her.
Unfortunately, Gloria had befriended the wrong sort of people. Not only were the 3 buyers doing a drug deal, but they weren't planning to pay for their drugs. They were going to snatch them from the dealer and escape by car.
So then when it happened, it freaked her out because she was like, oh shoot, you guys were not supposed to do this. But I don't think she knew how bad they are or who they are. Where she was 17, they were in their 30s. But they have a whole different mentality. They're so used to that type of life. My sister was just starting.
I don't know that she knew that it was going to be an actual ripoff. I believe that she set it up so that they could get drugs.
Realizing that her new friends were stealing the drugs, Gloria got anxious and drove away from the motel, leaving the 3 men alone and furious and without a ride.
At some point in time, 2 of the defendants caught up with her or found her, and they drove back to a house in El Monte. One of the other defendants, I believe, either got a ride from somebody else or he had to walk back.
Everyone reconnected at the house in the nearby city of El Monte. But the 3 men, empty-handed and lacking a getaway vehicle, gave Gloria a piece of their mind.
They took Gloria into a room and started yelling at her because she had left them there at the hotel.
Later, everyone piled back into the sedan, joined by another young woman. It was 3 o'clock in the morning.
We had a male driver suspect. Gloria was sitting in the right front passenger seat. We had another male suspect sitting in the left rear seat, a female sitting in the center rear, and then another male sitting behind Gloria on the right rear passenger seat.
The driver hit the accelerator and headed south into the darkness. Shops and houses eventually gave way to dirt and sagebrush. They had arrived in a desolate area known as Turnbull Canyon.
It's a hilly area, and it's a 2-lane highway that travels from Hacienda Heights to the city of Whittier. And there's some steep hills in that area, and then there's some turnouts along the way.
Whatever the original reason for this trip, Gloria soon realized that the driver was delivering her to the middle of nowhere.
As they were in the canyon, one of the suspects began to strangle Gloria. And once they reached a turnout at Skyline Drive in Turnbull Canyon, she was pushed out of the vehicle onto the ground.
Police say with a shocked Gloria sprawled in the dirt, one of the 3 men hopped out of the car. He had a gun in his hand. He pressed the muzzle tight against Gloria's skull.
And then she was shot.
Detectives say the man then jumped back in the car as it roared away, leaving Gloria's body on the dusty ground.
However, they didn't realize that her foot had been caught up into the seatbelt.
The men shoved Gloria out of the vehicle, and with one of her feet entangled in the seatbelt, it anchored her to the side of the vehicle. The driver, unaware of his bloody cargo, dragged Gloria's corpse, scraping and bouncing over dirt and asphalt roads, a total of 4.5 miles.
A passing motorist noticed that there was a body that was being dragged from the vehicle. And when they reached the stoplight, the motorist started yelling and pointing, and that's when the driver got out of the car, looked.
They had stopped at a traffic intersection in the city of Hacienda Heights.
And one of the other individuals in the vehicle freed Gloria's foot from the seatbelt, and they left, and leaving her body in the road.
Officers from the California Highway Patrol quickly arrived on the scene, but the killers were long gone.
It was originally believed that she was the victim of a hit and run, and because of where she was left in the street. And so the case was originally assigned to CHP. And when they were conducting their investigation, one of the CHP officers, they observed they were following a blood trail, and they followed it back towards Turnbull Canyon.
When the officer backtracked all the way to the source of the bloodstains, it was clear that his initial suspicion of how she died had been too simple.
He continued 4.5 miles up into the canyon, and then they realized this wasn't a hit and run. This was this was a homicide.
As police began to further investigate Gloria's death, the search for her killers would evolve into a joint effort between law enforcement and her grieving family. It would lead them both down a long 5-year road that finally ended in justice.
I thought she was gonna come home and she was gonna get in trouble and she was gonna grow from it, but she never came back.
It had been 5 years since 17-year-old Gloria Gaxiola was executed in a dust-choked canyon and dumped in a nearby street.
Some cases take this long, some go unsolved. It was unique in the sense that we had no suspect information for a long time, and that was unusual. Especially a case like this, a 17-year-old girl, minor, that was murdered in the way that she was, you would think people would be coming out of the woodwork trying to give information, and that just didn't happen in this particular case. My goal is to do everything that I can to solve a case, to at least give the family some kind of peace. It's never closure, but it's something. And if I can do that or be a part of helping ease their pain, then that's what we do.
After 5 years, the 3 men who murdered Gloria Gaxiola remain unidentified and uncaptured. But then, a whistleblower looking to clear his name suddenly came out of the woodwork and changed everything.
It was actually an inmate that had a friend who told him that she believed she knew who was responsible. So that inmate contacted us, and we went and spoke to him.
So he figured that dropping some information might help his situation, like a favor for a favor. So did he tell you how to reach the friend?
We spoke to the female who had that information, and then we started to investigate the individual that they believed was responsible. And again, that took a while because, again, you have to do background investigation.
So one person led you to another who then connected you with somebody else.
Probably 8 months later, I found him. He was incarcerated, and spoke to him and did an interview and learned that he wasn't the suspect at all, but he did know who the suspects were.
Goodness, with all these people involved, I'm beginning to understand why it took 5 years to close this case.
Well, we had our 2 victims of the robbery at the motel. Then we ended up finding the vehicle. Much later, we had the witness that was in the vehicle, the female witness, and then we have one of the suspects who had spoken to our informant and gave him some statements about what happened. at the hotel.
The Los Angeles Sheriff's Department finally had the hardware it needed to identify, locate, and arrest the men who executed Gloria Gaxiola. One irony in this marathon of a case, the three killers, ages 26, 31, and 33, were already behind bars.
They had priors. One had 3 strikes. The other one was just had been in and out.
Their previous crimes included robbery, attempted robbery, parole violation, and drug possession.
I don't recall them actually being involved in drug dealing, but they did have a past criminal history of violent crimes.
Another speed bump in this sprawling investigation, all 3 suspects invoked the Fifth Amendment and went silent.
Oh no, they didn't. They refused to talk about it.
Fortunately, the case against them was rock solid.
You have eyewitnesses, which we had. You have physical evidence, and you present it to the DA, and they decide whether or not you have enough to file the case, which we did.
During the trial, Angelina Gaxiola, still grieving over her sister's death, took the stand and made a heartfelt request.
I told the judge, please don't make the mistake again and have another family here pleading for their family members taken by obviously people that don't have no remorse and don't care about life. Like they didn't even care like what happens to them.
So when investigators appear in court, did they give the jury a visual of what they acted upon?
We have to follow leads that were given. Sometimes they lead somewhere, and sometimes they don't. And that's what our job is to explain when we get on the stand.
So after all those years of working on this homicide case, you still had weeks, months, or longer for it to make its way through the system, correct?
I think a lot of people, they watch TV and they think everything happens within an hour, and it definitely doesn't, as we can all see here. It is a very long process.
In the end, the 3 murderers went back to prison with new sentences of 55, 80, and 85 years to life. The California Supreme Court refused to hear their appeal. And for the investigator and the sister whose common bond blossomed into a lasting friendship, it was a chance to take a deep breath after many years of searching for the truth.
Once a case is solved and it goes through the court proceedings, you really don't hear from the family, which is fine. I mean, you try not to get personal, have those personal relationships because you have to move on, and you have other cases. But Angie said, she goes, I'm not letting you go. You're my friend. We're family now.
She really kept me together. She made me a lot more aware of my surroundings, of who I am and how I need to take care of my people.
All for the love of a radiant young woman who would never again bask in the warmth of the California sun.
It's just the little things, the memories you have of your sister running around talking about, give me a hug, give me a kiss. And now it's just I wish I could get her and hug her and kiss her and tell her how much I love her,
The murder of Gloria Gaxiola took just a split second in time, but for Gloria's family and the investigator who singled out her killers, the aftermath and the sorrow will never end. And now it is time for today's Safety Spotlight. Any parent can tell you that parenting a teen is not for the faint of heart. Gangs, drugs, violence, and social media are all real and present dangers for teens, but parents can take steps to help minimize these risks. Communication is key. Safety experts recommend you speak openly and honestly with your teens about any and all dangers they may face, particularly when it comes to drugs and criminal activity. For more safety tips for parents and teens, check out Safe Kids Worldwide at safekids.org. For all of us here at Crime Exposé, please join us next time and stay safe.
We received a report of a missing person in regards to Elizabeth Ballou.
I knew that there was something wrong. She would never abandon her cats.
Did you find any clues?
Blood. We found blood on her couch, inside of a floor, heating vent.
Did he confess to his involvement in the crime?
He actually was trying to kill himself when he drove over the cliff. About 20 yards into the woods, we find this burned body. What's left is a skull, a spinal cord, some ribs.
He just had the darkest, deadest eyes I've ever seen in my life. I was really worried about her being alone in a house with a stranger. The waiting was really hard. I didn't really know what was going on.
There was somebody that was preying on real estate agents because it's not a far stretch to have the ability to do something to a real estate agent at an empty property. This was just a vile, evil individual, and unfortunately, Elizabeth encountered him.
Hi, I'm Nancy O'Dell. Today's Crime Exposé takes us to Pensacola, located in the Florida Panhandle and home to beautiful beaches and a bustling tourist community. It was here that a successful landlord vanished under a shroud of mystery. Her loved ones feared she had been abducted while showing a property to a prospective tenant. But detectives never could have imagined the shocking direction their investigation would take. It was a warm and sunny afternoon when Tori Ballou called police.
We received a report of a missing person in regards to Elizabeth Ballou. We received a call from her daughter, Tori. Tori indicated that she hadn't seen her mother in about a week.
So I was like, hey, I think my mom might be missing. I don't really know what to do. And they were like, okay, we'll send out an officer to get the information and we'll proceed from there.
What did your mother say in her message?
My mom, she just said, hey, love, I've got some extra gumbo if you want to come by and get it. I think it was extra gumbo for you and Sean if you want to come by and get it. And that was the last time I heard her voice.
When all of Tori's phone calls to her mother went unanswered, she called the real estate office where her mother worked.
The lady that answered the phone, her name was Trish. She said, Tori, we haven't seen your mom in a couple of days, and she didn't show up to our Christmas party. And so at that point, I knew there was something wrong.
Tori went to her mother's apartment to check on her.
Poked my head in and I yelled for my mom and no answer. And so I went ahead and went in and started looking around, and I walked through her bedroom. Her bed was made. I went into the bathroom to see if her medications were still there, because that was like going to be a clue to me if she had taken off somewhere and just forgot to tell us or something. And her medications were still there. Her toothbrush was still there. So now I'm starting to get a little panicky. And
even more alarm bells went off when it was clear her mother's cats hadn't been fed for days.
I knew that there was something wrong, because she would never abandon her cats and just leave them to fend for themselves.
Could you determine if anything was missing?
Her cell phone and her purse were missing, and as was her vehicle. I started getting very worried, because where's her car? Where's her purse? Where's her cell phone?
A be on the lookout was immediately issued for Elizabeth's van. Detectives feared her work could have put her in harm's way.
With her job as a real estate agent, the concern was she had met with a client and something had happened, and that maybe there was somebody that was preying on real estate agents, because it's not a far stretch to have the ability to do something to a real estate agent at an empty property.
Tori hoped her mother's co-workers could provide them with a lead.
Did she show any houses? I was really worried about, her being alone in a house with a stranger and something could happen, a robbery or any number of things.
But none of Elizabeth's co-workers knew her schedule. While crime scene technicians began searching Elizabeth's apartment, detectives fanned out to question her tenants.
The home that she lived in was like an old colonial type 3-story home, the ground floor was the portion of the home that she lived in. So she lived on the entirety of floor number 1. And then above her were the apartments that she had converted for other tenants.
But with no sign of Elizabeth, all her family could do was pray for her safe return.
Every time the phone rang, I hoped it was like, we found her, she's fine, she's in the hospital, she has amnesia. I mean, anything, like that would have been just awesome.
There was well over $3,000 worth of transactions. So now he's living it up off of Elizabeth's money. That same day, we had gone out to Elizabeth's house and started canvassing the home that she lived in and talking to the neighbors. And through that canvassing, one of her tenants had pulled up to the house. He matched the basic physical characteristics of a person that we had on video in town using Elizabeth's credit card.
Elizabeth Ballou had vanished into thin air, and no one could understand who would have wanted to harm the spirited and generous 58-year-old. How would you describe your mom's personality?
My mom was feisty. She was an artist. She was independent. She always made sure that me and my brother were taken care of. We were always welcome in her house. She shared. If she had anything to share, she would share it. Even if she didn't have something to share, she would try.
When she wasn't spending time with her 2 grown children, she was busy managing her tenants and her job as a real estate agent.
So she was always showing houses, trying to close those houses so she could have an income. She had 4 properties that she also rented out to local tenants.
As the hours ticked by, Elizabeth's family began to fear the worst.
I was absolutely alarmed, 100%, a 10 out of 10. I was just playing all these scenarios out in my head, like, maybe this happened, maybe that happened.
But then law enforcement got a lead. They located Elizabeth's missing van on the side of a busy highway.
Her vehicle had been recovered, abandoned on the side of the interstate outside of Tallahassee, Florida, which is about 2 hours away from Pensacola.
Did you find any clues inside the vehicle?
We knew that when the vehicle was recovered, that the driver's seat was pushed all the way back and almost laid down, so that was not like Elizabeth. When they turned the car on, it was music that she would not have been listening to. So there was indications that someone else had been driving her car.
More red flags were raised when detectives discovered Elizabeth's credit and ATM cards had been used after her disappearance.
There was well over $3,000 worth of transactions, whether it be cash withdrawals or a purchase like a camcorder at Best Buy. These had all happened in the days after she was last seen. Security
video from the ATM machine captured one of the withdrawals.
Video wasn't too terribly detailed, but you could tell that it was a white male. That was athletically built, and he was younger, probably in his late teens, early 20s. The guy in the video is wearing like a ball cap, so you can't really see a lot of facial features.
And detectives found more surveillance footage of the same young man using her credit card.
And so you see this individual walk into this convenience store, select some items, go up to the counter, and pay.
A photo of the suspect was quickly distributed to the media. It was then the forensics team searching her apartment revealed the ominous clues they had discovered.
And what we found in the apartment was blood. We found blood on her couch in her living room. We found blood inside of a floor like heating vent where we could see blood dropping into the vent.
And there was more.
And then using luminol, our crime scene investigators were able to find cleaned up drag marks of blood going from the living room out the back door.
Their missing person report had just turned into a homicide.
We knew that this was going to be a crime scene, that there had been an effort to clean up the crime scene.
A terrifying picture was slowly coming into focus. Elizabeth had been viciously attacked and robbed inside her apartment.
I believe that he forced her to give him the PIN number and then murdered her after he had that. So now he's living it up off of Elizabeth's money.
Police believed they were on the hunt for a ruthless killer and quickly tracked Elizabeth's cell phone to a nearby mall.
And we found that it was last used near Cordova Mall, and we found that the phone was actually recovered by some groundskeepers at the local mall. It was being held in their security office, so now we had her phone.
Detectives combed through her cell records.
Going through it, we found numerous phone calls to a particular number in the days after she was last seen.
Who did the number belong to?
Then it belonged to an individual by the name of Ted Hughes.
But the 20-year-old looked nothing like the man in the surveillance videos. Detectives called Ted Hughes, and he claimed he had nothing to do with Elizabeth Blue's disappearance.
He indicated that he didn't know who she was.
He agreed to come to the station for an interview, but he never showed up. Moments later, a call came in.
I was contacted by some of our officers who indicated that, hey, the guy that was supposed to come in and talk to you about this missing person, he actually got into a car crash. And what they explained was he had driven over the cliff at Bluffs Park, and they had found him in the bay, not far from where his car was crashed. And he was injured, and he had been taken to the hospital.
Did he confess to his involvement in the crime?
He felt incredibly guilty about his participation in the cover-up. He actually was trying to kill himself when he drove over the cliff.
Detectives investigating Elizabeth Blue's disappearance had developed a promising lead and were waiting to speak with 20-year-old Ted Hughes about his involvement in the crime.
Here's this guy who didn't show and drives his car over a cliff in a single car accident. So that was very unusual, and he's now in the hospital.
While investigators waited, they expanded their efforts.
That same day, though, we had gone out to Elizabeth's house and started canvassing the home that she lived in and talking to the neighbors. And through that canvassing, one of her tenants had pulled up to the house.
When detectives got a close look at the tenant, they were stunned.
He matched the basic physical characteristics of a person that we had on video in town using Elizabeth's credit card.
His name was Michael Tremere, and he told police he had a good working relationship with his landlady.
When we're talking with him, he explains that she was a really nice lady, never had any conflicts, never had any complaints.
But when detectives dug deeper, they were convinced they were finally on the right track.
We determined that Elizabeth was actually in the process of evicting him. He did not have money. He was behind on his rent. He had been a problematic tenant with noise complaints and drug use in the apartment that Elizabeth was aware of, and she was evicting him. In fact, she had gone to the courthouse that day to finalize the eviction paperwork.
Detectives brought the 21-year-old to the station and asked him to take a polygraph, which showed signs of deception. Police say Tremere then tried to sell them a story he had clearly made up.
A couple hours in, he explains that he was also a victim and that he knows who killed Elizabeth because two black males had apprehended him and made him participate in the cover-up of her murder.
But detectives weren't buying it, and hours later, he began to get closer to the truth. What did he tell you about the moment of Elizabeth's death?
He explains that on the day of her disappearance, she came up to complain about the noise and was going to evict him, and he became very upset over this revelation, so he follows her back downstairs to her apartment, confronts her at the door. She tries to shove him out the door, and he responds by punching her in the face, which kills her. So his story is that he punched her one time in the face, and she fell down and died in her apartment.
Detectives knew he was downplaying the violence involved in the attack.
The amount of blood that was cleaned up did not match up with a single punch causing the death.
He said afterwards he had called a friend to help him dispose of Elizabeth's body.
He used Elizabeth's phone to call his friend Ted. Now, when he says the name Ted, I immediately know who he's talking about, and now that explains what had happened with Ted driving over the cliff and all that stuff that had happened the day before. Immediately my ears shot up that, oh my God, this is the connection between him and Ted.
Michael said Ted agreed to help.
So they go to Walmart, they buy these flammables, and he asked Ted if there's a place that he knew that he could get rid of or dispose of a body. So Ted explained that there's a wooded area not far from his house that they could bring the body there.
Michael led detectives to Elizabeth's remains.
About 20 yards into the woods, we find this burned body that he indicates is Elizabeth Blue. And what's left is a skull, a spinal cord, some ribs, and a big burn patch and this dirt underneath this shrub.
Elizabeth's family was devastated by the tragic and horrific news.
That was absolutely shocking when I found out that they had burned her body and that they had found her in the woods. He's just a disgusting human being.
During Michael Tremere's trial, his friend Ted Hughes testified for the prosecution. The courtroom was silent as Hughes took the stand and revealed what Tremere had told him about the moment of Elizabeth's grisly death.
Michael had told him that he had used a knife to stab her and had given some very gruesome details about what had taken place. And that matched the scene more so than Michael's story.
The testimony provided Elizabeth's family the answers they so desperately deserved, but nothing would ever replace the void her murder left in their hearts.
I do miss her every day, you know. I think about her smile. She was funny. Her side of the family lived long, and I believe that she would have still been alive and been a grouchy old grandma that I could go drink tea with, and maybe paint with or something. We were just starting to become good friends as I was maturing, and that got taken from me, that opportunity to be friends with my mom.
Michael Tremere was convicted and sentenced to life in prison without parole. Ted Hughes pled guilty to accessory after the fact, and during his sentencing, Elizabeth's daughter Tori asked the judge for leniency. The 20-year-old was given 10 years probation for his involvement in the crime. And now, it's time for today's Safety Spotlight. Being a landlord sometimes comes not only with financial risks, but physical risks as well. To help maximize your safety, experts recommend that landlords run a background check on prospective renters, and not just financial inquiries, but an eye towards criminal history as well. If you're a landlord and find yourself in a contentious relationship with a renter or are forced to evict them, have a safety plan in mind for all potential scenarios. If you have been threatened or fear for your safety, err on the side of caution and contact law enforcement. That call just might save your life. I'm Nancy O'Dell. For all of us here at Crime Exposé, please join us next time and stay safe.